latest episode of the Agency 501 podcast. I am McCabe Reynolds, and this is Timothy Fisher, our art director here at Agency 501. Welcome, Timbo.
Good to be here.
So today we are going to try to do a podcast and make it interesting. It's a tall task because we're going to be talking about websites. Look, first of all, everybody, we live in the 21st century. Everybody should know by now the importance of having a website. It's your modern day front door, if you will, to your business. But we're going to go a little bit deeper and talk about what type of websites you may need for if you're a business or a startup. We're also going to talk about the differences between hiring a company versus a freelancer, what the costs are associated with having a website built. And then Timothy's going to kind of cap it off with talking a little bit about style versus function. So let's start with hiring a company versus hiring a freelancer. Now, Timothy, you've been on both sides of
Yeah,
this.
I've kind of handled both manners of project management. So the thing with us is, as a company, we have a project management system. So we've got the process outlined, 8 weeks. You're going to get your website, making sure that like we get all the content from you, everything we need. We're going to hit that deadline. When you hire a freelancer, love freelancers. Like I said, I've done it before, but you don't know what might come up in the process and might delay things.
Another thing that I think is important to reference is when you hire a company, kind of what you actually get when when we take a website live. So talk a little bit about kind of your process when you deliver a site to somebody who hires us to build them a site.
Yeah, so we're going to package things up really nicely. I'm going to make sure that you have all the files you need, just in case you ever needed to take those on your end. I'm going to create a user account so you can log in, maybe even show you if you need to create your own blog post or add your own section to this page. I'm able to create tutorials, screen recording demos, really give people access so they know how to use their product that they're given.
And that is the number one question, aside from cost, obviously. That's the number one question that people ask us when they call in and they're inquiring about having us build a website. The number one question that people ask is, will I be able to make changes to it after you build it? And that's just really important to know, that having somebody who's going to be here, not just 2, 3, 4 months after your site goes live, but years after that. I mean, we have sites we built back in 2015 that were not clients of ours. So our retainer clients, we make changes to them. We host their site. We build everything for them, and we make changes a lot of times without them even knowing it. That's part of a service that we offer. But for kind of one-off website projects that we do, we have people that we built sites 4, 5, 6 years ago that literally will call us and say, hey, I need to make simple changes, and we'll just do it for them. That's a big peace of mind for a lot of business owners, is knowing that they can make one phone call and get changes made. All right, next, cost. That is by far the top question, or the number one thing people want to know when they do call us is, what is this going to cost? And it is, how long is a rope? I mean, it's what are you looking for? I could tell you, as an agency, we typically only build sites between the $5,000 to $15,000 range. Anything under that, it's going to be tough. We have people call us every month for sites under that, and we gladly point them in the right direction. Anything over that you're probably getting into the e-commerce world, and that's something that we generally just don't touch. And I think that's important to note. If you're a business and you're looking, a website is an investment. If you're going to make that investment, you need to do it. You need to do it right. Another thing that is important to talk about is what you're actually getting for a site with us. First, we're going to start off with giving everybody that we build a site for, our first step is going to be building a style guide.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about what a style guide is.
That's the priority. The very first task is creating that style guide, because it has your brand guidelines. It's got your colors, your fonts, everything that's going to dictate your website. But also you can use that in other projects. We'll send that back to you. So if you're ordering merchandise and you need to know what your color is, you can send that to your printer. You can send that to whatever companies you're dealing with.
Yeah. So we start with a style guide, then we build the site out. We won't go into details on what is every step that's involved in that 90-day process. But we build websites in really one of two platforms, primarily WordPress. It's the most popular website CMS in the world. So that's where we start. Rare occasions we will build in Squarespace, which is as of recently very powerful,
super powerful,
and that's important. We kind of guide people through that process. So most people want their site built in WordPress. For us, leads perfectly into our next topic, which is style versus functionality.
Mm-hmm.
So talk a little bit about that, Timothy. You know, we've seen a lot of changes over websites in the last 4 or 5 years, primarily most of them going to mobile.
Yeah. So the majority of mobile traffic now, Google reports over 50% is mobile. So it's so important these days to start mobile first, design for mobile first. Yeah, you can have a good desktop site, a good look for that, but people are on their phones constantly. I generally would rather visit a website from someone's Instagram profile than having to look them up and type it in a browser. It's kind of a convenience thing these days.
Absolutely.
So mobile first is the priority, and you've got to have it fast. You've got to have it accessible so that when people see it, they don't have to scroll so much with their thumb to get to where they want to be.
So style versus functionality. We're not, as an agency, we're not trying to win awards for our website design.
Although we could.
Yeah, we probably very well could. We built some great ones, but for us, we want to build a website that's going to work. That first and foremost, that's what it needs to do. It needs to accomplish the task or the goals that it is set out to do, or why we were hired to do it.
Yeah. The cool thing is we can have that balance, though. We can get it functional because that is the first step, but styling it within your brand and really making it represent you and your story is an additional
thing. And it's important to know your audience. And let me give you an example. If you are a criminal defense attorney, you would be crazy not to build your site 100% mobile first. I mean, the vast majority of your traffic, and that's one thing that we see a lot of fluctuation based on the type of business. Timothy mentioned earlier that over 50% of all internet traffic is on a mobile device. That's true, but in certain industries that skews way higher.
Yeah,
way higher. So I mean, we've had clients that it's as high as 75%, and then we have some that are still more traditional, catering towards an older demographic.
Companies,
and you're going to have those still that are going to have a higher desktop. So you need to know the balance. You need to know where you fit in on that model, and that's really another thing that coming through an agency, sitting down and kind of talking about what your goals are, what your business is for. That's really where an agency can help, in my opinion, more so than if you're out trying to do it on your own.
Yeah.
Or in some cases, if you're just hiring a freelancer.
Yeah. It's getting to know you and your brand and your audience and using that to kick off the build.
Sure. So that's really all we have for website design. Again, we hope that it was this podcast was useful and helpful. And hope we covered any topics. If you have any questions about it, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're available, and we love talking to people. Even if we're not a good fit for you, we will gladly point you in the right direction.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for watching this episode of the Agency 501 podcast.
See ya.